Today we're getting into the latest Tesla news, including Tesla dropping lease prices significantly, the Highland Model 3 spotted uncovered in the US, 4680 battery progress, and more, so let's get into it. First up today, the latest Cybertruck updates. Last week, Elon Musk reposted a live-streamed video of the Cybertruck from the new dedicated Cybertruck X account, where his team suggested a delivery announcement of the new pickup would be coming soon. Tesla recorded their Cybertruck connected to the internet using a Starlink satellite and then hosted the live stream on X, all Elon Musk companies. The video was taken after a 1,280-mile off-road trip ending at the Baja Peninsula, where they were doing off-road durability testing of two release candidate Cybertrucks. Here's a map of their journey, starting in San Diego and driving the entire length of Baja California. According to the team, these Cybertrucks were mostly charged using the Tesla destination charging network at the hotels along their route. We've already known the Cybertruck would of course be designed to do so, but this does prove it can charge easily at existing Tesla chargers. The speech delivered in the video really made it seem like the truck is finished and ready to ship. So the delivery event still hasn't been announced, but this makes it sound like it's going to happen very soon. In the meantime, we have some more photos of the truck testing. Here are what appears to be the same graffiti-wrapped Cybertrucks after those tests in Baja. We can see the team hanging out after a successful trip, with wires hooked up all over these vehicles to report the data back to Tesla. This photo gives us a new perspective, showing two adults that can comfortably sit in the front trunk. It shows us just how large and usable that space is. We haven't seen a lot of the front trunk, but this photo gives us a clear picture. Rather than a deep cavity like their other front trunks, this area is flat like a seat. Then in this video we can see just how wide it is. There aren't any lines painted on the ground, but it looks like this truck will be a tight squeeze in smaller parking spaces. These wrapped Cybertrucks have had people wondering if Tesla would start offering some sort of in-house wrapping service for their vehicles. We've seen the Cybertruck with all kinds of wraps, even complex ones, imitating other truck makers, so someone over there is obviously interested in the possibilities here. Well, Tesla has now launched an official color wrapping service in addition to clear coats. This page is for recent 2023 Model 3s and Ys and ranges from $7,500 to $8,000 depending on the color you get. After we heard about this, it was confirmed that coming up, Tesla is planning to offer a Cybertruck Wrap service, also with multiple color choices within 6 months of first customer deliveries. They haven't announced these prices yet, but they're expected to be somewhere between $8,000 and $12,000. It makes sense that it would be a little more expensive since there's a lot more area to cover, but installation should be a bit easier because the truck is made of very flat surfaces. Either way, this will be a great way to help customers find their Model 3s and Ys in a busy parking lot, and a great way to make the Cybertruck even more distinguished. We can assume that this wrap is going to use the same materials as the new wraps we're seeing for the Model 3 and Y, but I'm wondering if it'll be available in different colors for the Cybertruck, or if you can make custom ones like other trucks or other patterns. It's also shipping without paint, so the only way to get this truck in any other color than stainless steel is to wrap it. Because of that, it definitely makes sense that they're going to offer this service. Speaking of stainless steel, we've discovered who's going to be supplying it for the Cybertruck. This is the ultra-hard 300 series cold-rolled stainless steel structured skin that has been on the website for this truck since the beginning. Tesla developed their own alloy specifically for it, and the patent for that alloy leaked in February. Now Bloomberg is reporting that Tesla has selected a Finnish supplier to manufacture it. That might not be the only supplier though. Quote, Tesla could be sourcing the materials from Outokumpa's plant in Calvert, Alabama, and may be using more than one supplier. Vehicle manufacturers haven't really used stainless steels for body panels since the 80s, so securing suppliers was an important step in getting this truck made. Lastly, this truck was spotted again with aero wheel covers, this time in Melbourne, Florida. On further inspection with a close-up, these do not hold up in the looks department though. The hope is that these are simply prototype wheels and tires, and that there will be much better tires paired with these smaller wheels. Here it's charging at a supercharger, and it doesn't appear to be as tight of a squeeze as we've seen previously. So it must depend on the charger or how the truck is parked. Then this one was spotted at SpaceX, demonstrating its rear-wheel steering. This is probably one of the clearest demos we've had of this since the vehicle is stationary. You can very obviously see the back wheel turning as the driver turns the steering wheel. I'm hoping the delivery event will be finally announced at their Q3 earnings call webcast on October 18th. That will come at 4:30 p.m. Central Time, and I'll be sure to recap any details that they share. Next up today, one of the foundational aspects of any electric car is its battery. This is the most expensive piece of an EV, and the one that requires the most scaling before cars can be made. As such, Tesla has been working with suppliers for years, making batteries in partnership with Panasonic at Giga Nevada, and now is getting into making their own 4680 cells. These first arrived on the all-wheel drive Model Y out of Giga Texas with a 279-mile range, and were Tesla's first iteration. For the future, they plan to scale up in some big ways, and now we have learned that they have made significant progress. Tesla just announced they have built their 20 millionth 4680 cell at Giga Texas. They shared a celebratory picture with the teams surrounding the new reflective walkway at that factory and said, quote, "Just built our 20 millionth 4680 cell at Giga Texas." Troy Teslike pointed out the 10th million cell was built on June 16th this year, meaning Tesla has built 10 million cells in 117 days. That comes out to around 85,470 cells per day at current rates. Most likely, rates were lower and increased throughout that period as well, so they are likely at a higher daily rate today. These numbers, though, give us some insight as to how fast they're able to build the Cybertruck, since that is expected to use only 4680 batteries. According to his math, that should equate to between 446 and 650 Cybertrucks per week. Of course, the Cybertruck likely isn't the only model they plan to utilize these cells long term, but for now it's exclusive there. According to Electrek's reasoning, that 625,000 cells per week is likely a little higher now, as I mentioned. A conservative estimate of 800,000 cells per week would translate to about 80 megawatt hours of 4680 battery cells per week, which would roughly translate to producing 1,200 vehicles per week at 65 kilowatt hours per pack. The Cybertruck battery pack is much larger, at an estimated 130 kilowatt hours, so they can make half as many Cybertrucks. Again, though, this is a conservative estimate because Tesla hasn't announced their actual production rate today, which could already be well over 1 million cells per week at Giga Texas. It's also possible that they've made energy density improvements beyond the 10% that they announced, which could decrease the number of cells necessary to produce a vehicle. Assuming they haven't made any breakthroughs and their cell production rate hasn't increased at all from 625,000 cells per week, that could put them at around 390 Cybertrucks per week. These are all estimates and guesses, but they give us some insight into Tesla's progress here. It's vital for their cars going forward and the launch of the Cybertruck, and scaling appears to be going well. Hopefully soon enough we can see this battery improve more and trickle down to their other vehicles as well. It should ultimately save Tesla on cost since they make it entirely in-house. Next up today, Tesla just made leasing one of their vehicles a lot more affordable. When buying a Tesla, many people will be facing a monthly payment, whether that comes in the form of a car payment, which entails a lot of interest at the moment, or a lease payment. Recently, we saw Tesla drop prices on car purchases, and now leases have caught up. They are offering rates as low as $329 a month for the Model 3 and Y. That's up to a $100 per month decrease depending on the configuration. Now you can get a Model 3 rear-wheel drive for $329 per month, which is down from $419. The long range is $439, down from $509, and the performance is $529, down from $609. The rear-wheel drive Model Y is now only $399, down from $499. The long range is down to $469, and the performance is down to $539. These prices are for a 36-month leasing term with a yearly mileage cap of 10,000 miles and the same down payment. So how did these compare now with the competition? I think some of the best alternatives to the Model 3 might be the Polestar 2 and the Kia EV6. Then the best competitors to the Model Y might be the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and the Mustang Mach-E. Most of these cars start under $50,000 to buy, so they're in the same price range as the Model 3 and Y. The Polestar 2 starts at $49,900, which is $11,000 more than the Model 3, and leases start at $399 per month. It makes sense that the more affordable Model 3 now has a more affordable lease. Before this drop in price, though, the less expensive Model 3 was actually more to lease than the Polestar, so I'm glad to see this change. Then for the EV6, that car starts at $42,600, and leases depend on the dealer you can get the car from. One dealer near me has one at $380 per month, which again adds up because this is a slightly more expensive vehicle. As for the Model Y's competition, the Hyundai Ioniq 5 starts at $41,450, which is about $2,500 less than the Model Y. A lease for that trim is $331 per month, which is about $60 less per month. The SE trim might actually come closer to the Model Y in terms of range and features, and that starts at $399. Hyundai has also been pushing leases, especially due to their ineligibility for the federal tax credit, except through a leasing loophole, so this does make sense. That's the same as the rear-wheel drive Model Y. Again, though, that'll depend on the dealer you go to. The Mustang Mach-E, another dealership car, starts at $42,995, and leases are around $660 per month from what I saw. So this car that sells for $1,000 less than the Model Y appears to be leasing for twice as much per month, at least from certain dealers. Even before talking about tax credits, it seems Tesla has lowered their leasing prices to be quite competitive. Different EVs will qualify for different tax incentives, and Tesla might be losing eligibility for certain vehicles aside from leasing in the future. They now confirmed that they expect to lose half of the $7,500 federal tax credit on the Model 3 at the end of this year. So in 2024, all Model 3 trims will only have a $3,750 reduction. That's because the requirements to qualify increase in strictness each year. China supplies some components for the base Model 3, including its LFP batteries, which could be why that particular trim is losing part of its incentive. They don't specifically mention the rear-wheel drive Model 3 though, so it seems it applies to all trims. The website says, quote, all new Model 3 vehicles currently qualify for a federal tax credit for eligible buyers. $7,500 tax credit expected to reduce to $3,750 on December 31st pending federal guidance. Take delivery to guarantee full incentive. Right under that, they're now displaying these new lower lease prices with a disclaimer that it includes taxes and fees, the price is subject to change, and it's only available in select states. So prices haven't dropped in Arkansas, Delaware, Kentucky, Nebraska, New Hampshire, Oklahoma, South Carolina, and Wisconsin. They may be focusing on increasing leases because those incentives aren't changing. Leased vehicles don't have to follow the same guidelines in order to qualify. As for the Model Y, they just say take delivery by December 31st for full $7,500 tax credit, and that reductions are likely after that. And then we can see the new reduced lease prices below that. It seems that the tax credit could definitely cut in half next year as Tesla catches up on battery scaling that is able to qualify. However, this could change and could simply be a Tesla sales tactic for the meantime, trying to get rid of Model 3s that are still the old one as they're preparing to launch the new Model 3 in early 2024. Speaking of that car, the new Model 3 Highland has finally been spotted again in the US. For months leading up to the unveil of this car, we saw Tesla testing it out in the wild. It always had its front and rear covered, and then leaked photos gave us more insight. We also saw drone footage of employees testing it, which let us know you'll shift on screen, but then Tesla surprise unveiled it with a few influencers in Europe. It's shipping this month to the markets their Shanghai factory serves, and we're still waiting for it to arrive in the US. It's a weird limbo because they're selling the Model 3 in the US, but everyone knows that just around the corner is a new one with a lot of improvements. Not much has moved forward on this front, except for rumors that it will come to the US in early 2024, but now it has been spotted in California completely uncovered. It was spotted without any coverings, sporting the new ultra-red color this car is bringing. We can clearly see its new headlights and taillights, and many are now referring to this as the Model 3 Plus. Tesla only used Highland as the internal name, so Model 3 Plus actually makes a lot more sense, and has shown up on the badge of certain configurations in China. Overall, we're still waiting for Tesla to announce this car in the US, but it is a good sign to see it on the streets testing. They have nothing to hide here besides what it will actually bring when it releases, and when it will release. Speaking of the launch of that car, fans are already dreaming up other variations for this car that could be pretty cool in the future. New renders of a Model 3 station wagon concept have surfaced online, made by Sugar Chow. This probably isn't anywhere near Tesla's radar, but it is an interesting concept. It has a longer roofline and a redesigned back end that could give it a bigger cargo area. From the back, you can see it has an even smaller window than the current Model 3 though, which is already difficult to see through sometimes. For my money, this is just about the slickest station wagon I've ever seen, so if Tesla did offer this body shape, they'd be rebranding what it means to be a station wagon. Of course, that likely won't happen because they're not going to release a Model 3 with an entirely new body shape, and the Model Y seems to be what they have if you want a bigger Model 3. Even this new refresh is mostly the same as the older Model 3. Exterior changes were mostly cosmetic, just redesigning the bumpers and headlights. It also wouldn't make sense for them to release a new version of this car that they're actively refreshing when they still haven't released their $25,000 vehicle. Regardless, these renders do look very cool, and I support anything that will increase the storage space in this car. I'm in Europe right now, and there are tons of station wagons here, so it would make sense long term for Tesla to make this car, but for now, it seems the Model Y is that car for them. Last up today, an update from Kia. Kia has officially revealed their EV3 and EV4 and introduced several new concepts at their EV Day in South Korea. Last week, they teased 3 new small to medium electric models, and now we have a lot more details. The EV5, revealed in China over the summer, will have between a 330 and 447 mile CLTC range and start around $35,000 US. This one likely won't make it to the US though, but they also officially unveiled their EV3 and 4 concepts. The EV3 is a compact crossover and the EV4 is a 4-door sedan, but Kia calls it an entirely new type of EV sedan. During the presentation, they mentioned a material of the future derived from mushrooms. This doesn't seem like it's going to make it into either of these vehicles by the time they're released, but they seem to be working on a mycelium-based material. A more attainable idea is the EV2, a successor to the Soul starting around $30,000. They plan to launch that one within the next 3 years, and it could be an electric hatch or have a crossover design. They also said every model in their lineup will get a Performance GT variant. All these new models will help them accomplish their goals of selling 1.6 million electric cars annually by 2030, and they now have at least concepts of vehicles that hit just about every segment. That also means they plan to expand to 8 production facilities by 2025. That's all the latest Tesla news for today, so in the meantime, if you want to see the way Tesla is introducing 7 new paint colors for the Model 3 and Y, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.